We're taking you inside the emotional American Sniper courtroom today, where the man charged with murdering Chris Kyle tried to explain what he did, while his mother opened up about the possible warning signs in her troubled son. Another emotional day in the dramatic American Sniper trial. Marine veteran Eddie Routh accused of gunning down the real-life American sniper Chris Kyle and his friend Chad Littlefield at this shooting range in Texas 2 years ago.
He said that he killed two guys. They went out to a shooting range, and he's all crazy. He's psychotic.
The defense is claiming Routh is not guilty by reason of insanity, arguing PTSD from his time in the military led to murder. Today, the last day for the prosecution to make its case. They showed the jury the Routh police interrogation video. Head down, hands cuffed, Routh appears to be napping at the start of the video. Later, the jury watches him look around the room, at one point trying to put on his glasses. Not easy with his hands behind his back. Of course, it's what he says to the Texas Ranger, hours after shooting Chris Kyle and Chad Littlefield at this gun range, that may matter most. "You know what you did today is wrong, right? You understand that?" asked the Ranger. "Yes, sir," replies Routh. The judge will not allow audio to be broadcast until after the verdict, but on the tape, Routh further acknowledges his guilt by apologizing to the victims' families. "I tell them I'm sorry for what I'd done. If I could have done it differently, I'd done it a whole lot differently." The accused double murderer is incoherent through much of the hour-plus long tape, but he does detail parts of the crime, like who he shot first. Chris Kyle, the hero of the blockbuster American Sniper.
I just want to get the bad guys, but if I can't see them, I can't shoot them.
Look, all these guys, they know your name. They feel invincible with you up there.
They're not.
"I knew if I didn't take out his soul, he was coming to take mine," Routh says. "I'm tired of playing chess with my life." Prosecutors also played a series of voicemails Routh left on Chris Kyle's phone the week before the shootings. One included a bizarre rant about the weather. Defense argues the man in the voicemail and on this tape is sick and doesn't know what he's talking about, especially when he says he knows what he did is wrong. In all, prosecutors called 26 witnesses. Earlier this afternoon, they showed the jury videos of Routh, often using his own words against him. The latest? Routh in the back of a police cruiser, just after his arrest. When the officer asks if he's okay, he says, "I've been paranoid schizophrenic all day. I don't even know what to make of the world right now. I don't know if I'm insane." Prosecutors say it's all an act. They say Routh only says things like that or does things like lie down in the cruiser when people are nearby. Watch. They say when officers walk away from the car, he sits up normally and appears relaxed. Opening their case today, the defense started by showing the jury Chris Kyle's Navy SEAL rifle, emblazoned with American Sniper on the side. Routh's attorneys are arguing the Marine vet was so paranoid he felt threatened by the 5 assault rifles Kyle and his friend Chad Littlefield brought to the gun range 2 years ago. To further make that point, they called the killer's mother to the stand. Jody Routh testified her only son wasn't the same when he got out of the military. "The month before the murders, you begged the VA not to release your son," said the attorney. "Absolutely I did," his mother replies. The blockbuster movie hangs heavy over this case, the highest-grossing war film of all time.
How would you describe Chris Kyle?
Awesome. Because he's so imposing. He's clearly an individual that you would never, ever want to mess with.
It all made the search for an unbiased jury a difficult task. Potential jurors had to fill out a 4-page questionnaire, gauging the details of the Chris Kyle story.
The jury in this case is not being sequestered. Why?
Sequestering a jury is a big deal. They're almost never sequestered. It's an enormous burden.
Kyle's legacy was larger than life. 7,000 people in attendance at Cowboy Stadium for his funeral.
Chris always said, "The body will do whatever the mind tells it to." I'm counting on that now.
The Eddie Routh they are seeing today in court is very different from his mugshot 2 years ago, and a stark difference from these pictures. Trying to hit home the insanity defense in opening arguments, the defense presented text messages between Chris Kyle and Chad Littlefield as they rode to the gun range with Routh in the back seat.
I think that it's very helpful to the defense that Chris Kyle himself is saying this dude is straight up nuts, because that's exactly what the defense is saying.
The question for this jury is not if Routh pulled the trigger, but rather what drove him to do it. Months before, prosecutors alleged he showed up at a family dinner and made threats to kill family members and himself, leaving shirtless, crying, and intoxicated. What's more, while in jail for a drunk driving conviction in 2012, prosecutors say he told officers, "I'm a Marine. I have PTSD." Author Laura Beale of The Enemy Within, the inside story of Eddie Routh, the man accused of killing the legendary American sniper Chris Kyle, spent time with Routh's mother.
He was raised just like a Texas boy would be raised. He had been kind of rebellious as a teenager. He was really intent on joining the Marines.
His mother telling Beale that he was very disturbed by his time overseas and in Haiti during the earthquake of 2010.
He wouldn't talk a lot about it, but they did notice something was different about him by the time he came home.
Routh's mother had reportedly sought help for her son. She approached Chris Kyle, who she knew was well known for his work helping veterans.
He said, "I'm going to do everything I can to try to help your son."
Brandon Webb, Kyle's sniper instructor, has also battled PTSD, insisting it's a treatable diagnosis, not a defense for murder.
I don't believe he suffered from PTSD. I believe he was mentally ill, and I think that's a big difference. And had Chris known that this was a person that was suffering from mental illness, not a veteran suffering from post-traumatic stress, I don't think Chris would have ever found himself on the shooting range with this guy.
Over the next few days, the defense is expected to call more members of Eddie Routh's family and a long line of his doctors to present to a jury made up mostly of women. 10 women, 2 men.
I'd be far more concerned about the fact that it's 10 Texans than 10 women. Texas is not where you want to be presenting an insanity defense if you're the defendant.
Is it enough for the defense to say there's evidence that this guy was mentally ill for him to therefore not be held responsible for what he did?
Not enough to just say he was mentally ill. You have to be able to demonstrate that the mental illness was so severe that he didn't understand that what he was doing is wrong.
However Eddie Routh's trial ends, the debate over PTSD, mental health, the high price our veterans pay, all of it will linger for a long time, as will the legacy of Chris Kyle, the American sniper who risked his life to serve his country. A story more compelling than any Hollywood could produce.